Support for WCBU's On Deck comes from Jaguar Land Rover Peoria on Allen Road, offering personalized service to customers from their first visit to the store to when they drive their new Land Rover home. More at jaguarlandroverpeoria.com.
Illinois is preparing for a spike in demand for skilled technical careers. That's just one of the things you'll want to hear about to start your day for Thursday, May 9th. I'm Colin Shope, and this is WCBU's On Deck. First on deck today, the Greater Peoria Sanitary District is exploring a way to convert methane from the region's wastewater into a source of energy and revenue. The process is called renewable natural gas and would involve building a plant in partnership with the Texas-based company Trillium Energy. District Executive Director Brian Johnson says the process is already used widely in landfills.
After the gas would traditionally go to a flare, instead of going to a flare, it'll go into a reduction, H2S reduction process.
After reduction, the methane is compressed, dehydrated, and cleaned into usable natural gas that can be put back into the grid for Ameren and used as needed. Johnson says the benefits are environmental, lowering emissions from the sanitary district, and economic, turning waste into a resource.
The challenge from our trustees has been, let's explore these waste to resource opportunities here and see if we can't figure out a unique way for a government to generate revenue in order to reinvest in the system and keep our rates around the national average.
Johnson says the project is still at the due diligence phase right now, and there's no firm timeline yet. Here are some other stories we're following in the WCBU newsroom. The estimated costs to bring one rural central Illinois community's water system up to spec are continuing to snowball. And Peoria is taking on an effort to tear down up to 40 dilapidated garages in the East Bluff. Plus, the federal deadline to get a real ID card is officially 1 year away, and the Illinois Secretary of State's office is urging people to make the switch. Find more of these stories and all the details at WCBU.org. Governor J.B. Pritzker has proposed an additional $10 million for career and technical education in his proposed annual budget. Eric Hill is Executive Director of Skills USA Illinois, a workforce development organization for students. Hill tells Jennifer Fuller from Capital News Illinois what's most important for students to know about what technical careers are available and what career trajectory they could see, as more current laborers approach retirement in the so-called silver tsunami.
The baby boomer generation that was retiring. Then with with COVID being happening, basically we just amplified or enhanced that retirement so fast that now companies went from kind of talking about workforce development and maybe looking at that being a small initiative within the greater recruiting strategy to now suddenly it's we're losing productivity because we don't have bodies to physically do the work that we need. So that, in addition to the fact that, we have skills that, a kindergartner right now is going to be working in a career field that doesn't exist today. So when we have all of these different things all stacking up together, it's almost it's perfect for an organization like this. For us, it's probably terrible for our economy right now because we're looking at all of these things coming up at kind of either the worst time or the best time, depending on how you look at it, where we need all of these employees, not just bodies to be able to do physical labor, but technical skilled employees, and not just like dirty jobs. We're talking robotics, we're talking automation, all of these technical skill sets that require not only the physical labor, but also that critical thinking skill set.
I'm glad you brought up the dirty jobs kind of moniker that a lot of times people think of when you say that, a person is going into the trades or going into something other than a traditional 4-year university right after high school. How important is it for that message to get out there that you're talking about? Yes, you're talking about carpentry and electricians and HVAC and plumbers and things like that, but there's more to it than that.
Gosh, no, absolutely. And what a great question. Because when we're talking about education, I think for my parents' generation, it was very much the need for that 4-year university, that degree, that piece of paper meant you were going to be successful no matter what you did with it. But that was also when the cost to get that degree was dramatically less than what it is today. Skills USA absolutely is all in favor of our student members getting the best education to make them as successful as possible. But step one right out of high school isn't always that 4-year degree anymore. It's getting those hands-on technical skills, even for the engineering student, because they need to be able to see that by being an engineering student, by having that hands-on application, that technical ability to see what they're going to be doing design work on in the future is going to make them so much more successful.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing in working with state lawmakers and policymakers and things like that to help make that path a little bit easier. I know Governor Pritzker has proposed spending more money for career and technical education, CTE, in the budget for next year. Of course, that has to be negotiated with lawmakers before it can be passed. But what types of things do you need from the state in order to make that path easier for the students that you're working with?
So funding in our state, I love to see the governor's push for more funding for career and technical education. I think when we look at other states in comparison, we're still dramatically underspending on the amount of focus we're putting on career and technical education. Because, career and technical education is not the building trades of old, right? It's not it's not where you send the students that are not performing in classes. Working with lawmakers right now, our real focus is not just on funding for career and technical education, but then something specific to Skills USA, we're really focusing on that apprenticeship program and the Department of Labor's registered apprenticeship program. So we sponsor currently about 100 companies in the state of Illinois where we do turnkey for them. We help them establish the apprenticeship program. We register students. We help recruit from Skills USA chapters. And so we're building this entire new kind of pipeline of recruiting for our employers. And so we're really relying heavily on our legislators to see the value in that and to continue to support that.
Now, before we let you go, today is a regular meeting of the Peoria County Board. Those meetings start at 6 p.m. in room 403 of the Peoria County Courthouse. Fiber optic cable and the future of Landfill 3 are on the agenda. And that's all for today. You can subscribe to WCBU's On Deck podcast on the NPR app, Apple, or Spotify.